here. Okay, so before we start, I just have a few housekeeping to-dos. We've already heard them multiple times, but I'm just going to reiterate. If you can, please check into the session on your CVET app. We encourage you to not only check in, but also to create a profile so that you all in the audience can continue to stay connected post-conference. After the session, feedback. We love your feedback, good, bad, in between. Just so we know how well this session went and any suggestions for the future. And then what else? Oh yes, please ensure that you wear your badge at all times. So we know for security purposes who's with us and who's not with us. So we appreciate your due diligence in wearing your badge. So before we begin today, my name is Renee Clausen Rivera, and I am the Program Director for the Women's Business Center based out in Durham. So again, we thank you all for joining us this morning for this, what I know is going to be a very impactful and informative session. So to piggyback off of Secretary of State Elaine Marshall this morning, as we're thinking about green energy, environmentalism, etc., one of the most important voices that needs to be at the table in every room, and is very often not at the table or in the room, is our young adults, Gen Z, the next generation. So today's panel is all about how young people, like the powerhouse young women beside me, are truly leading the charge. So whether it's through thrifted fashion, personal gardens, or using their voices online and in the world, our panelists are showing that Gen Z is no longer having to ask permission to make a difference. They're already doing that in their day-to-day. So I would like to take this opportunity now to introduce my wonderful panelists. First, we have Biani Washington. Biani, if you just want to wave. Biani is a recent graduate of Bennett College, where she earned a BA in journalism with a minor in English and in concentration in narrative and documentary storytelling. As vice president of the Green Team, she led initiatives including a campus-wide clothing swap, herbal tea party on holistic wellness, tree planting, and peer education campaigns on gardening and recycling, connecting sustainability with lifestyle, culture, and care. Her perspective grew through studying abroad in Madrid, Spain, and Morocco, exploring how local customs, food systems, and climate solutions intersect with the well-being of communities. She has completed a data science internship at UNC Chapel Hill, worked with NPR's Next Gen Radio at WUNC, and interned with the Women's Institute for Science, Equity, and Race to amplify Black women's voices. A published author and editor of Be Self-Love magazine, she is committed to empowering young women and advancing intersectional solutions for sustainability. And she's done more in her 4 years of undergrad than I ever did. Next, we have Michael Carter.
Hello.
So Michael is a highly motivated biotechnology and visual arts major at Durham Technical Community College, preparing for transfer to Wake Tech. As a rising student, Michael combines a passion for scientific innovation with artistic creativity. Beyond academics, Michael is an active upcycler and dedicated environmental activist, striving to make a positive impact on the world. And your afro is popping.
Thank you.
And finally, Isabella Obregon. Isabella is a rising senior at a high school in North Carolina. She's actively involved in the Green Team, Gardening Club, National Honor Society, Women in STEM, and the National STEM League, and obviously doesn't get a lot of sleep after school. Passionate about community service, Isabella founded a children's choir and co-launched a Spanish language academy in an underserved community. She also volunteers at Levin Children's Hospital in Charlotte. With a strong commitment to environmental causes and youth leadership, Isabella promotes sustainability through everyday actions, including her love for vintage fashion and eco-friendly living. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today. So now I want to start off with a personal question. So really, what first sparked your interest in environmental change, and what inspired you to start making a difference in your own life? I will start off with Biani.
So that's a great question. The first time I got involved in sustainability, it was through a class. It was food and justice and gardening class. It was the first semester, and it consisted of us going to local farmers markets, farm fresh restaurants, local gardens, and learning about the people and what they do. And I remember just being so inspired and excited to hear more about how practical the lifestyle was. And I was like, well, it's so easy to put a seed in the dirt. Let me try it at home. And one thing led to another. I started my own garden and began to have more fresh foods in my diet. And I felt a change in my body. I felt more alive with just having food that was fresh and not as processed. With GMOs, pesticides, etc. And I just felt like everyone should have a taste of the lifestyle. And so I joined the Green Team. I've been in college and started to even learn even more about climate change and what it looks like to be sustainable.
My first experience with, what made me get into this type of protecting the environment activism mainly started when I decided to randomly join FFA, Future Farmers of America, in middle school. At first it was just an after school club to join, but I soon found extreme joy and passion in learning about where biology and biotechnology has helped many people become creatively innovative with how we protect and care for our environment while not overusing the resources in our environment. This led me to also discover, what may be affecting our climate more, what may be affecting the way animals migrate, things like that, which definitely drove me to want to find more ways to help protect our everyday life and our everyday environment.
I feel like I've been very fortunate throughout my years of my education. Schools have been doing a fairly good job at teaching us about the environment, about sustainability. But personally for me, I feel like my passion for really getting into it was listening to Greta Thunberg's one of her speeches, because I was very surprised and impacted by the fact that a young woman was so passionate about the environment and the earth and all the living beings here. So when I started high school, I wanted to get more involved in the Green Team, in the gardening club, picking up the trash around the school, which there's so much. You'd be surprised when the trash cans are right there. The trash is right next to the trash cans. I'm like, what is this, guys? And planting your first plant, it's wow, I'm contributing to the earth, and so I just find joy in it.
Beautiful, thank you.
I didn't go into gardening. I tried to make a pea plant, it died. So I found other ways.
We're going to talk about that later on. Keep that story. So when we think of sustainability, one concept of that is what we do on our day-to-day, what we're wearing on our bodies, the outfits, the clothes that we choose to put on every morning. And it's become really rampant, especially in the past few years, this idea of fast fashion. It's convenient. Many times it's inexpensive. If you're missing a shirt for a conference, you can go right down the road and there's a Walmart or a Target, not trying to name drop any fast fashion brands, but there's access. And but again, you wear those items a couple times, maybe 3 times, and you wake up and there's a hole in your shirt or your jeans are ripped. So again, those items aren't necessarily what we would consider to be sustainable because there's no longevity. So this generation is really flipping the narrative on fashion and this idea of sustainability, whether it comes to thrifting, upcycling old and used items, or turning style into this form of activism. You're showing that fashion can be both expressive and good for the environment. So, Michael, I'll start with you.
Okay.
Again, fast fashion brands are so abundant nowadays. What advice would you give to someone who really wants to start being more intentional and shift their wardrobe, but doesn't necessarily know where to start?
I would say definitely thrifting. As many of you know, has become an outrageous trend, but don't let that kind of steer you away from it. A lot of people who use it as a trend are doing it because they're looking for high value items to resell, things like that. But for example, for this conference, I was completely unprepared for the amount of business casual pants I needed, and went to my local thrift store, found 3 very nice pair, and I love them. They'll be worn again. I'll definitely use them again. The sweater, thrifted. Not to self-promote, but my jewelry that I create is also all recycled products, from jewelry that is from thrift stores, necklaces, bracelets that are broken, things you don't like anymore, to someone else that has value. One thing that helped me steer away from fast fashion was the idea of one man's trash is another man's treasure. That can be taken seriously. Learn how to, do patchwork to fix up some things, or just try to get creative with the fabric and tools we have, because there are a lot of things that sit in thrift stores for years, days, months, and it's just looking for the right person who can style it or create something new with it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to piggyback on that for our second question. So when it comes to thrifting, I think there's a lot of talk going around social media, again, the past few years, where it's becoming so trendy to the point that it's driving up cost, or really becoming inaccessible to people who rely on those items in their day-to-day. I'm thinking like the more like Salvation Army, Goodwill type thrift stores. So how do you stay mindful of that? And anyone on our panel is willing to say anything.
I feel like social media can be a very good tool to become more mindful of it. There's a lot of influencers that promote their products or different brands that they're getting promoted by, but people need to begin to use that power that they have to show ways of lowering consumerism. I have a friend that taught me how to sew some things, that she makes her own clothing. If at the thrift store you see a shirt, I love the color, but I don't like the type of shirt it is. You can just cut it, you can sew it, you can put rhinestones in it. There's so much you can do, and it's just people need to learn it from somewhere. So TikTok is very famous, Instagram Reels. So I feel our generation has a big job to teach others on that part.
Picking off of what you said, over-consumerism is definitely one of the things that's currently making thrifting very expensive. And it's mainly because people feel the need to constantly buy clothing, constantly have things oh, I might need this, I might wear this out. But when you're thrifting, you shouldn't be thinking about long-term ideas, because then you'll just end up having a bunch of stuff you don't need that's probably going to end up back at the thrift store. So get things that you need in that moment. Get things that are valuable to you, and give back when you can. You have a sweater you don't like how it fits anymore, or I don't think I'll wear that, but maybe I will. If you have to second guess your choice on that outfit, give it to someone who might not second guess it. Give back to those same communities that you take from.
Right, and to just tie everything together about over-consumerism, social media, and just the impact that it has for thrifters, alternatives such as pop-up closet parties, clothing swaps. These sustainability area, it can be a fun thing. It can be a thing that pulls the community together to build stronger communities, more creative, innovative communities. And that's something we're always looking to do. I hosted a sustainable pop-up closet party last year, and it went really well. We brought all those old things that we did not want out, and we traded it with each other. So this is something you all can hold within your community. Call up a friend and be like, hey, do you want to trade clothes? Or, hey, do you know somebody who would benefit from having these nice pants that I bought, but I'm not using them anymore? And then it can be a family thing. Have it at your next cookout, just have a section of clothes. Just think about creative ways you can reuse your clothes and also share your clothes. It doesn't have to be in a traditional way of going to the thrift store. It can be something that you host personally.
I'd like to add to that, and you might not even know if there's already events going on like that. Instagram is a big tool for me. I found in my area in Charlotte, because I live there, there are so many quote unquote vintage markets, and then thrift stores, and they host big places, and there's also pop-up closets there. So I like to go every month, see if I'm in the lack of shorts, a t-shirt that I want, summertime. I really it's called For the Girls Vintage Market. I really like that they don't overprice everything, because it's good to know like the people that you're buying these products from, and that they're not overpricing them like just for the gain of it. It's more of like taking it out of thrift stores and getting it sold out to other people.
For the people who still use Facebook and do not wish to, drift to Instagram and TikTok's chaotic section, there is a part of Facebook where you can look for different events that are happening in your area, and if you look up specific words like thrift or clothing drives, you would find those events as well.
So what are y'all's go-to places for your thrifted fashions?
For me, it's every month it's hosted in like this warehouse in Charlotte where it's called For the Girls Vintage Market. There's different vendors, they have all different types of clothes. I also like to go to Thrift Pony. It's another like big market where they have different vendors. Thrift Pony is already a store within a place called Camp Norton, which was taken from like a like old factory, and then they put stores in there and restaurants. And there's like this big like green area where they set up all the stands and you can buy different things. I like to keep myself updated when they have, the time. So
You also be writing these stores down. I expect to see some thrifted fashions next year.
Personally, since I've moved, I look for community type thrift stores, and in the Carrboro Chapel Hill area up by UNC Chapel Hill, there's a company called Community Works, and they do donations and clothes drives. They also have a thrift store where they sell, different types of furniture, cookware, whatever. They are actually where I got my pants from. They're very good, very inexpensive, and very well community built. They also donate a lot of their profits to multiple charities and organizations. However, when I'm in more areas like Durham or RTP, I look for the rescue missions, but those areas are where I'm being the most cautious of, buying things there, because those are for people who really need it. People who cannot afford to go to regular stores and buy things. So most of the time when I go to a rescue mission, I am only getting the one thing I need.
For me, I have a good time at estate sales. Recently I've been to one, and I didn't find anything in particular, but it was so cool just to see how much stuff this person had in their lifetime, and how much that all the stuff that we buy anyway ends up not going with us to the grave. So a lot of my clothes honestly have been given to me, and that's been my story. Anytime my mom takes me shopping, I'm like, okay, I just need this one thing, and I'm very mindful about what I'm choosing because I like quality over quantity, always. And I'm also mindful of creating my capsule closet. And so a capsule closet is having quality pieces. Maybe you have like 4 color shirts and 5 sets of pants that you can switch up and make all different types of outfits with. So that's how I like to go about shopping.
I'm going to need to talk to you after this session. So now we're going to bring it a little bit closer to home, literally, with sustainability at home. And this one's very personal to me because I have attempted to start a garden 5,000 times. And my green thumb is black, and it just dies. So I need any help that I can get. But seriously, whether it's gardening, reducing our food waste, or really switching to cleaner energy, cleaner household products, everyday choices can add up and spark a bigger difference. And I think that's something that we're going to continue to reiterate throughout the panel this morning. So Issa, I'm going to start with you. What's one eco-friendly habit you started at home that you're surprised with how much of a difference it's made?
At my house, we don't use like that many plastic bags at all. We use reusable cloth bags when we go shopping, grocery shopping, because we realize like the amount of plastic bags that we have after we go grocery shopping, it's like insane. We do reuse them for like whatever we need. Like we're going to the pool, we come back with like wet clothing from somewhere, we put them in there. But it's always better to go more sustainable, in my opinion. And so like I realized up until like piles slowly go down, I'm like, wow, like we really did like use a lot of grocery bags that are plastic. And also like just like little things like curling my hair this morning. Last night I put in like socks instead of curling it with like an electric curler, and then it looks good, like so, and it's like easier, also like less time consuming. Like I wake up, I just take out the socks and my hair's already ready. So it's like small things that you don't even realize. It saves you time, saves electricity, money, and the earth, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And so, when we are thinking of these everyday actions, again, I keep going back to gardening, because not only do you have to repot your plants, but you have to sing to your plants, you have to play soft jazz to your plants, you have to water your plants, do all these things. And I'm tired at the end of the day, and I just don't want to have to deal with it. So for the rest of you, how did you get started, and how do you kind of handle, the energy to keep going when it all starts to get overwhelming?
One way that I've kind of made my home a little bit more sustainable is whenever I have a piece of clothing that may rip, tear, have a stain on it, I usually try to cover it up with patchwork. That gives me something to do if I'm bored and I need to do something with my hands but I don't want to really get up. I can just sit on my bed and fix those areas. It helps me keep a lot of clothes, and it helps me practice how I want my designs to look when I am making clothing and upcycling things, which has led to me being, greeted out in public and people being like, oh my God, I love those pants. I love that design. And I'm like, oh yeah, I made it, Back to my jewelry thing, it originally wasn't, an actual business. I didn't do it because I wanted to make jewelry. I genuinely just had a bunch of pieces given to me, some broken, some not, but they were pieces that no one really wanted, no one was really interested in. And I thought to myself, okay, these beads would look good with this, but as an earring, or this would look good as a necklace charm. And then that became me in my free time, using my creativity to make more jewelry that I can wear out with whatever, if I need, a specific pair of earrings that I haven't found, but I have this really nice outfit I want to wear them with, I can make my own now, because I'm reusing what's been given to me, and I'm reusing what is considered unwanted by someone else.
And how did you learn how to put that jewelry together?
Learning how to put it together was really genuinely just a learning experience. I had to try multiple things. I started out with string, which did not last long. Then I did some type of like rubber type string, which the amount of times I realized I was breaking stuff or losing those pieces of string also concerned me with how much plastic I was just using in general. So I decided to switch to pure metal and use what actual jewelry makers use, the metal wire, which I use less of to make earrings than I did the plastic, and I end up reusing a lot of those wires. If something goes wrong, I can just straighten it out, fix it. So it helped me cut back on what plastic waste I was using while making these, and it also helped ensure their longevity, so that if I do give these out, they're not going to break and become someone else's trash. They can be worn over and over again.
So for me, and could you repeat the last end of your question?
Yes, what did I say? Oh yeah. How did you get started with your everyday changes, and how do you just continue with those efforts when it tends to get overwhelming?
Yes, so I build a system, and for me, I have a regular routine, and this is my self-love garden of going out, watering my plants, and just taking sustainability as a meditative practice. When I go out, I'm not really thinking about, oh, this is saving the planet. This is saving me. What are we even talking about? And then to see the fruits of my labor, like right now we have a watermelon and it's growing, and it grew to my surprise. I just put the seed in the ground. I actually don't even remember putting the seed in the ground. It got there somehow. I don't even know. And to see the watermelon growing, that's encouraging me to do more of the same thing that I'm doing. And then the sunflowers that we have in the yard, they're beautiful. I planted those. And just to see the way that the land of my home is changing simply because I'm outside, I'm being involved in the earth and being curious about it, it gets to teach me things and inspire me to be more curious and involved in, let me think. It inspires me to teach my parents and teach the community. Okay, y'all see how I got this thing going on? Let me show y'all how to do it. And now my dad, he just goes out and put seeds in the ground and hope for the best. I'm like, okay, Dad, you need a little bit more effort. But yes, and so another thing is I wanted to add, one moment. Can you ask it just one more time? Because I had something
so
else.
how do you continue to do these everyday actions and changes in your life when it gets overwhelming?
Oh, yes. And fixing the things that are broken. So instead of replacing something, figure out how you can rink-a-dink it. Like, use the glue, use whatever resources you can that you already have versus going out and rebuying something, because that becomes the habit, the consistent habit of buying something. And you don't have to always do that. You can ask your neighbor, oh, do you have a replacement so-and-so? Or do you have something I can use to fix this thing that has fell apart in my house? Because it becomes the nature of sharing. Sharing is caring. We got to come back to that in order to practice circular economy and healthy sustainability practices.
And I'll piggyback on that too, like taking advantage of your local co-ops, your community gardens. My mom and I, we recycle throughout the week at the house, and every Sunday we drive 2 minutes down the road and dump everything into the recycling dump trucks. Many, I think, waste management companies will have you add on recycling services for, I think, $15, $20 a month if you don't think you have the time to really go out and do it yourself. And also, piggybacking off of what you said, with kind of the intersection of self-care and sustainability, it's a grounding practice. You know, taking the time to go outside and do what our ancestors do. It's an ancestral practice. You know, seeing the fruits of your labor pay out, you know, going outside and taking your shoes off and putting your feet in the ground, all of that is sustainability, because you're sustaining yourself, and in turn you're able to pour out into the environment. So thank you for that. And I also want to touch on something that we hear a lot. So, you know, we're talking about our individual actions, and you know, you may all not be convinced that your individual actions matter, but they do. And many people say, well, it's all about the corporations. It's all about the corporations. What's your take on that?
I got this. So I do think big corporations like make big impacts, obviously, but I feel like individual choices make cultural pressure. Like when enough people begin changing habits around one another, it creates a demand and business notice. So then all these businesses and all these other brands, they want to appeal to the consumers. So then they begin to do these same things for them, if that makes sense.
I think that in order to really get out of the headset of the mindset of, you know, corporations will do it, it's fine, or the corporation's not gonna recycle, so what's the point of me recycling? It only takes one person. The corporation doesn't need to recycle most of the time, because what they're giving out is what you're buying. You go to these places and you buy their products, so when it becomes your possession, you should be the one to recycle it. They're not going to come to your house and take the Coca-Cola bottle that you just drunk and recycle it for you. That's something you have to do. It may be a small initiative, it may just be the toilet paper roll or a piece of tissue, but it actually does more than you think, because that's one less plastic bottle that we have to wait over 60 years to fully break down into our ecosystem. That's one less piece of paper that we have to wait years and years to break down. It's a small step, but it's beneficial towards the overall goal, you know? Like putting money into savings. You're not gonna put your whole check into savings. You're gonna put a little bit in there, and you're gonna over time keep putting a little bit more in there. That's a small step to a big goal. That's what recycling is. Individuals need to take accountability for what they need to recycle in order for us to have the bigger goal being the protection of our planet, the protection of the land that we use.
Right, and just to add on all of that, I answered this question yesterday, and I brought up some key words on accountability, responsibility, discipline, and lifestyle and behavioral habits that have to be acknowledged in order to create change. I mean, there is things the corporations can do, and there are things that we all can do as individuals. And a lot of the conversation can begin once we say, okay, I take accountability for this. I did buy this thing. Now it's my responsibility to do the revamping of it, whether it's upcycling it, recycling it. Because I think there's at least 5 R's or 7 R's, and it's all the types of things you can think about. How can I keep this thing in circulation versus throwing it in the trash? Because your toothbrush takes at least 20, 30, 40 years to break down. And imagine how many toothbrushes you've been through, okay? So being responsible in the sense that, okay, I want to change my lifestyle because this is a commitment. How can I get bamboo toothbrushes or things that have been recycled and buying it so that way I can incorporate it into my life? So once we're able to have a conversation on, okay, what can I take responsibility for? Then we can talk to the corporations about, okay, well, we're changing our lifestyle. And like Issa said, a cultural thing happens and businesses have to accommodate that. So one step at a time, one conversation at a time.
When we start recycling our individual pieces of plastic, paper, and any other recyclable waste, it becomes easier to hold those companies that don't accountable for the fact that they're not aiding in the betterment of our environment while pushing out products that may destroy it. Once we as people come to the conclusion like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I can recycle this, I'm fine, but what are you doing for us? We're giving you profit, we're giving you, media attention, we're using your products. Can you help and give back by just simply recycling?
And ultimately, like you said, it's your own personal responsibility and how you expect to live your life now versus the quality of your life 5 years from now if you don't take those actions.
Yeah.
So our last segment, again, segueing based off of that, is really about utilizing your voice, advocating, but also the ability to stay grounded while navigating this ever-changing landscape. That's something that we've noticed throughout these sessions, is that the world is changing. So from budget cuts to eco-anxiety, there's a lot to carry and a lot for us to hold throughout it all. But you all are still showing up and you're being creative and you're speaking out. So Biani, I'm going to use you for this first question. You've done some powerful storytelling through journalism and advocacy. How have you used digital platforms like social media, blogs, your journalism to raise awareness about environmental issues?
Yeah, so I love that. I wanted to connect this back to what we were first saying, how self-love and sustainability are tied together. So I actually published the first edition of my magazine, Be Self-Love Magazine. And mind you, this has been an ongoing project. I have been working on this for at least 5 years now. I started it in high school with the Be Self-Love Club, and I hosted 2 sessions, me and my friends. And before that, we were like, okay, how can we change the world? How can we save the world? And then we were like, okay, we need to recycle. We got to practice sustainability. And then we started thinking about food waste plans. How can we get recycling bins in our classroom? And then we went a little bit deeper and we were like, okay, well, why wouldn't people want to take care of the earth? I mean, this is where they live. And then we concluded that self-love was the answer for us. And we decided that we needed to do more sessions around promoting self-love, confidence, and actually knowing yourself. Because once you know yourself, you take care of yourself. And then, of course, you want to do the same thing in your environment and then for other people. And so we only got to host 2 sessions, and because COVID-19 hit and quarantine changed the narrative for us. And so once I transitioned to college, I wanted to continue the mission and hosted the pop-up closet party, the garden tea party, and all those types of things. And now I'm doing this through a magazine. And that gives me the ability to continue to advocate about sustainability, but through the lens of self-love.
That's beautiful. So I want to really touch base on this next question with our other 2 panelists. How do you 2 personally use nature to kind of stay grounded and stay hopeful during these times?
So because I am also, I think, minoring in visual arts, I strive to find different things to take pictures of, different perspectives to go into, and a lot of times that means embracing and enjoying the little pieces of nature that come to my way. If I see a set of flowers that go, ooh, those are nice, I think to myself, okay, I'm going to take a really good picture of those so that I can always look back on the pieces of my planet that bring me joy. Even though in recent times, you know, the fear of what's happening to our climate is scary. The idea of, you know, underfunding our environment is scary. I still have faith that one day we can be better at recycling, be better at protecting our environment, and be able to fully enjoy our planet's resources naturally. So with that being said, I take every second to enjoy the small things, the little pollinators that may fly by me, even though they do give me a bit of a scare. Right, frogs. I despise them, but I understand that they are important. The flowers I may see on the street, really big moths or whatever. These are little creatures, but they hold such a big impact. Kind of how me recycling this one teeny tiny water bottle is such a small thing, but it has a big impact. So that's kind of how I stay positive using nature through all the environmental anxiety that I may have, is solely enjoying the environment that we do have and acknowledging it for what it is. It does make me feel more confident that my recycling means something, and it does make me want to recycle more so that these lovely animals outside of our windows and our doors can continue to thrive in their own home and environments.
I'd like to add on to that. I really enjoy being outside, the environment, going on walks. I live near the lake, so I get to take my dog on walks next to the water. And the way that I feel hopeful is that it reminds me this is what we're working to protect. You know, especially the younger generation, all these issues that are going on, all the stuff that we need to fix, it's left to us to work on, because we're the ones that are going to be left. So I guess just looking at the beauty of everything really reminds me that this is what I want to keep for like my kids, my grandkids, their grandkids. So I want them to still be able to see the world as I see it right now, and that's what keeps me hopeful.
I would say, yeah, I know a lot of you can definitely vouch for this, but it is not the same heat that it once was. It's a lot hotter out there. So we're trying to get back to that. We're trying to, you know, cool off the air, feel a nice breeze when you're outside under the sun instead of just baking out there. Those are the things we're striving to get back to.
And if you had the mic right now and you could talk to your local leaders and give them some insight and let them know how you're feeling, what would you want them to hear from your generation?
I would say that the quality of life impacts everyone. So everyone wants fresh water, everyone wants clean air, and it doesn't matter if you're low class or high class or in the middle. You're gonna have to go outside and see the skies and see whether the birds are there or not. So this sustainability issue is not just for a select group of people. This is an everybody thing. So if we can find more ways on how to incorporate, okay, how can we be more creative? How can we be more innovative? How can we use less? That's a big stepping stone to the planet, to the following generations after us. So that way we can have and continue to have a high quality of life.
If I could say anything, it would be that it's not a taboo subject to want to care about our environment, and the need to see the stars at night versus the amount of air pollution that we have, the need to embrace natural light for those of us who wear glasses and, you know, can't really see would be great. The need to breathe clean, fresh air to better our lungs and our overall health. These are needs, these aren't wants. Though we want these things, they're important, they're key essentials. So just as you're, you know, taking it upon yourself to think what you should cut, what you should fund, understand that funding the betterment of everyone's life should be the ultimate goal.
And just to build on that, I feel like a lot of the decisions to defund and take away are being made by generations above us. So I would say that we are like ready to be a part of the solution. We want our voices to be heard, to be a part of it more, to include us in more decision making, because at the end of the day, once again, it'll impact us mostly. We want to be able to see the stars in the sky, like Michael mentioned. Like, that's beautiful. Like, right now we maybe take it for granted, but maybe one day, like, our children aren't going to be able to see it the way that we do.
Fireflies are currently an endangered species. And I know a lot of people can remember capturing fireflies in a jar, looking at how beautiful they seem in the middle of a summer night after a family cookout. Our future children may not see that if the environment does not get better, and that alone is very
likely
scary.
not to
Butterflies, bumblebees,
Mm-hmm.
whales, blue whales.
All of the beautiful things and beautiful animals you've taught your children about or you saw for the first time that just lit up your world as a kid, another generation may not be able to experience those things if we don't start taking action in this very moment.
Right, and just to give one practical tip on how you can take action right now, whatever purchase you're thinking of right now, just give it 30 days. That's your practical homework. Whatever you're thinking about buying, think about it again in 30 days.
And is it sustainable? If not, is there a sustainable alternative?
That part, yeah.
Y'all just segued right into my closing question. But I wanted us, despite it all, what you're hearing is hope. And what you're hearing is that, we can feel that there's a change and that there's a shift and that, the next 10 years, we're going to need a lot of people and a lot of efforts being made to, again, change things for the better. So I do want us to really connect with the audience right now and let them in on just one actionable item that maybe you all can do today to just start living more sustainable. And then what is one hope that you have for the future of our planet?
One thing you can all just, take with you when you go home to do to be more sustainable is simple things like creating a separate pile for your recycling if you don't have a recycling bin when you get home. Reusing that trash bag that we got from Walmart, they give out a lot. Simply any jewelry that you don't like, give it to a thrift store because there's someone like me out there who's gonna go grab it, make something new with it, and more people can indulge in it. You have clothing you don't need or I don't really want it, give it away to someone. A hope I have is that people will understand that recycling isn't hard. It doesn't need to be something that takes out time of your day. It could be something that you do creatively. It could be something you do for fun, something for relaxation. It does not need to feel like it's pressured. It does not need to feel like it's obligation. Even though it is our obligation to give back, it doesn't need to be forced.
I think a simple action that you can really do is like things you don't really think about, like turning off the light switch when you leave a room. Don't let the water run. While you're like brushing your teeth, you can turn it off and keep going. When you wash your hair in the shower, those are like little things that we can all begin to change. If you're like feeling intimidating by making all these changes, like, oh, I need to just start like solely like buying like secondhand clothes. Like, no, it can be in the smallest of things, like just turning off the water. And then a hope that I have is that sustainability begins to not just be a choice, but it's like a part of our life. Like that everyone has a recycling bin in their house, and that everyone turns off the faucet when they're not using it, and the lights off.
And unplugs their hair
Yes, and I would add to my first part, my hope is, yes, to see sustainability within the lifestyle and also to see gardens. I would love to see more gardens within people's front yards. I would love to see circular economy happening within neighborhoods. And circular economy is just sharing. It's sharing with what you have, trading different resources in exchange for other things. And that just being a part of the conversation. And it's not always the money, even though that makes the world go round. But also we can add, okay, well, I'll trade you this for this. I want to hear more of that conversation.
Another way, and I just thought about this, if you should look up the plants and seeds that are native to your environment, and you can put them in a season shaker and toss it on any piece of grass you see. That will allow pollinators, when the time comes, to use those flowers that grow to their advantage. Will strengthen your area and the place around you. The fact that a lot of invasive species of plants are in our areas and we don't even know, adding those native plants would help a whole lot, and it's something simple. You could go outside right now and toss a bunch of sunflower seeds in your yard. Those are native plants to North Carolina, which will be great during the spring when pollinators need them the most.
Yeah, and I will add to that is, especially for us who clean, and make messy and have a lot of spills. Many cleaning companies, green cleaning companies, have subscriptions where you're able to buy like glass, like a large glass bottle of cleaner, detergents, dishwashing liquids, and you can go online, send the bottles in, and they'll send it back filled. So you're decreasing your plastic usage, you're thinking and utilizing cleaner, less harmful ingredients, which all pays off in the end. And then also, apple cider vinegar it can clean anything, and it's so useful and it's so cheap, and again, it comes in a glass bottle. So I always use that for all of my cleaning supplies. And one hope that I have really is what we've all touched on again, is this, that we all feel the desire to be committed to the cause. We all have our day-to-day, we all get busy and get overwhelmed, and life gets hectic, but at the end of the day, it's how we want our we want to revitalize. We want our spaces to be beautiful. We want to live clean. We want to breathe in fresh air. So let's all stay committed to the cause and see it play out. So I want to thank our panels again for just imparting us with such wisdom and knowledge. And this was a great conversation. So thank you all again. Can we give them a round of applause? We have a few minutes left in our conversation, and so I'm going to be passing around the mic for anyone who might have questions.
That's okay. I'll just speak very loudly so everyone can hear me. First of all, I want to say thank you for the knowledge transfer. I'm super impressed by how much each of you knows and how loudly you're advocating for the next generation of our planet. This is sort of this is sort of to piggyback off of what Renee just mentioned about reusable and refillable containers, and you mentioned putting pressure, that consumer habits put pressure on corporations to create systems change. Something I'm hyper aware of, paying attention to environmental justice for many years, is the idea of greenwashing. Corporations can tell consumers that something is environmentally friendly.
Oh, yes.
How can we be sure that the products that we're buying, or are there things that we can do outside of buying green products to make sure that we're truly taking care of our environment?
The best thing to do would to be research the green products, because again, corporations will sell you quite literally anything. Not to say all of them are bad, but just to say most corporations choose profit over people. So definitely take accountability of figuring out for yourself what may be safe for you, what may be safe for your environment. They could tell you, oh yeah, it's recycled, and it's not. So take it upon yourself to recycle it. They could tell you, oh yeah, this is good for the environment, and it may not necessarily be the best thing for the environment. So do research on it and make sure that when you're buying these things, you're thinking to yourself, okay, how would this affect my environment? That's the best bit of advice I can give for that one.
And I will also add, I'm dramatic. Just forget about them and go to the farmers markets. Find your local spots or ask, hey, me and you want to get together and make this so and so, whatever you need, and make it a girls' night. So I'm always about supporting small businesses. So if you can find that same product, but a small business is making it or a community member is making it, that cuts out all the questions, in my personal opinion.
Can I add? Is it okay?
Yeah.
If you go on the EWG website as well, I don't know what it stands for, but it's EWG. You can search up any of your products, and it gives you like a list of ingredients. It gives you how it's made and produced as well, so that kind of can help assist you in determining if that product is actually sustainable and good for the environment.
One other thing I do have to add, I downloaded an app called Yuka, Y-U-K-A. In that app, you scan anything, sometimes beauty products, hair care, anything. most stuff they have, and it will give you all their ingredients, whether or not it's good or bad on a scale from 0 to 100. And that has helped me find better products and safer products for my hair that are also safe for the environment, better and cleaner products for what I may use on my body that has helped with, eczema or anything like that. So there are apps and websites that can also help you.
EWG.
Oh, Environmental
Yeah.
Working Group is what it says. No, it's an environmental working group. I just looked it up.
Yeah. So the mic's not working, so I'll just go by.
I mean, you can use Issa, say if you want to say something.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I want to thank you for agreeing to do the panel and for bringing the whole issue of sustainability from your perspective as young adults. This is kind of a trick question because my name is Gwendolyn Bookman. I'm a faculty member from Bennett College, and Biani is one of my students. Yes, so I'm going to ask a question about disposable bottles. Nobody really mentioned that, I don't believe, in a major way. And Biani and I have had lots of discussions about disposable plastic bottles.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about how you can do water in a more sustainable way?
I love that. I know what you're getting to there. So for me, I've been playing around with some creative ways to differentiate like large packs of water bottles, because at my house, we have this huge problem of people getting water bottles and then not finishing their water bottles and then leaving it around the house. And I'm like, okay, whose water bottle is this? I don't know. Whose water bottle? I think oh boy had it. Okay. Can we finish our water bottles? So they just never get finished and they're just laying around the house and they end up being dog water, poured out to the plants, all types of things other than going in the body. So I was like, well, let me just color these caps. And so I played with coloring the caps, adding charms around the caps, around the neck of the bottle. And that's what you'll see back there. I got a couple of prototypes just to differentiate the water bottles. And people started drinking all their water. Water bottles ended up in the trash or the recycling bin. Brothers, sometimes they decide not to do the right thing. And so I noticed that the water was getting ingested and not being left around the house. And that was my main goal. And then I tried to experiment at my service project that I did this summer, Appalachian Service Project. And it was the same case, Deer Park, this large 24-pack of water bottles. Everyone got one, and it was the same problem, but just in a different environment. People got their water bottles, left it around, forgot their water bottle, got a new one, and then just never finished their water bottles. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring this same concept of coloring the caps, differentiating the water bottles. So that way when someone grabs a water bottle, they know whose it is, what it is, and it'll have a color, a fuzzy thing, a googly eye, something that's just glued on there. And people were entertained by it, and they also finished their water bottles. And so just that small change in just the water bottle caps is something that I did in order to create sustainability, to create different results in what I was experiencing in my reality.
Another thing you can do, because I know a few people have seen how the more metal thermal bottles may not be the safest, is definitely glass bottles and jars. We used mason jars a lot at one point. Why did we ever stop? I have no idea. But they're good. A lot of them are heat safe. A lot of them are microwavable safe. A lot of them come with handles and other things. And they can be customized. They can be, selected for you. Getting a filter, a water filter in your house could also be beneficial. These are simple little things that could help cut out, plastic bottle waste. Another thing would be simply using any jars you get in general. Yes, it may be weird drinking water out of a Tostitos glass jar, but it's a lot safer than ingesting from a plastic bottle.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question because we actually have some items in the back that we would like you all to be able to peruse and look at from our panelists.
Okay, so first of all, congratulations. I think all of us, we can see the passion you have to support this sustainability. So I was thinking that we are from different generations. So I enjoy seeing my daughter, Isa, that I'm so proud of her. But I see that you enjoy, ladies, going to these thrifting stores, and I see my daughter going with her friends in these tours. So since we're from different generations, how can you teach us how to get to those events or stores? Is there clothes for us? You know, for executive positions, for adults, for that kind of things, you know, because maybe we think this is only for youth to buy jeans, t-shirts, that kind of thing. So how can you teach us how to be part of this wonderful movement?
I think a good part just to, like, social media is becoming like a big part of how our world functions. It's like basically everywhere. So I think it's important to first introduce like better to generations, like how to use like these technologies, social media, because you would be surprised the type of markets there are for like everything. And like there's adoption events and like clothing markets, and there's for older people too that you're just not informed about. Or like you're not even our age, so poorly worded. But another thing is a lot of thrift stores, and I'm gonna be honest, it's mostly you guys giving away stuff you don't wear anymore. For example, I know good and well no one my age gave these pants away. These are old school pants, like the branding of them are old. So I'm like, okay, this came out of someone's closet, someone's child went to college and they just gave these away. That's fine, but that just means that there's definitely stuff there for you guys. There are a bunch of thrift stores where people are constantly giving away family members' old things or clothes they just aren't their style anymore. You guys just gotta go out there and see it. That's why we do it. We're not picking up a lot of the old themed things. I mean, I am because I like old school fashion, but I'm not taking too much, and there is definitely a lot of business casual things because a lot of times when you're donating, you're thinking someone might need this for a job interview, someone might need this to, you know, go to school and look good. So there are a lot of things, business casual and just, you know, dress casual, that are at thrift stores.
And Michael, I'll just say this, Michael's, I'm her pop-pop, my granddaughter, and she talks about going to thrift stores all the time. And maybe one of the things I could do is go along with her to see what's there that I might be able to purchase for myself. Definitely
joining the younger generation at these little thrift experiences, farmers market experiences, pop-up closets. It also draws a closer connection to you and whoever you're going with. Grandchild, great niece, niece in general, anyone. It helps bring y'all closer because you can both relate on style, art, and fashion.
And I wanted to add, there will be a pop-up closet party happening sometime this year or next year at the Wellness Pods. And if you all would like to be updated on that, stay connected with my magazine, Be Self-Love Magazine, and that's in the back. And you can add me on LinkedIn. So all that information will be in the back if you want to connect.
Great, thank you all. Before we transition, one more question? Yes, we have some time.
Yeah, I could talk because, like, actually, I wanted to comment on what you were saying. This, like, everything I have on right now is like thrifted. I don't really like tell people because, like, they don't like expect it. But like, I got this from a closet. It was like $2. My shoes were also $10, and then my pants are from H&M. But like everything else I have on is thrifted.
The most expensive thing you will spend at the thrift store buying is probably shoes.
Yes.
And it's not even that bad. Also, we will take questions after being behind the table, of course. So don't feel alarmed about not coming to us. We're open to questions.
Okay, this is going to be
last one.
First of all, I just want to say thank you guys for including us. Because honestly, I wasn't playing. It's not really a question, it's a comment. We were going by here to find where to go, which place to go, and we were here because it was all empty. But I am so excited and I'm hopeful. I can see that you're changing the world, and I look forward to you all doing bigger and better things. My husband, he has a garden. He named it after me.
Yes.
And we do have flowers and stuff like that he takes care of.
after flowers bloom, she goes out and cut them all and bring them in.
And we share. So thank y'all so much.
Of course.
I'm really impressed. And I can't wait to go back home and tell my daughters about you guys and how you all really, really impressed us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everything just about.
Oh, yes, sir.
Appreciate you. So again, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Again, I would like for everyone to be able to take a second and stop by the table in the back before we leave. I want